In episode 2 of my Learning Music Theory series, I learned all about making chords, so today I'm going to be learning how to use those chords to make chord progressions. Alright, so today we got just a few objectives here. We're going to start by reviewing how to form chords. So it should be super simple, just little triads. Then I'm going to learn the basics of chord progressions. Then I'm going to learn a little bit how you can spice up the chords and then how we can break the rules. And in order to learn all of this, we're going based off of the same 2 tutorials as I've been doing before. Learn Music Theory in Half an Hour by Andrew Huang and Music Theory for Producers, This Is All You Need by Ethan Davis. These 2 videos have been pretty much guiding my whole thing. And yeah, I'm going to be going back to these 2 videos to get learning. To form triad chords, we gotta know like what scale we're in or whatever. So if we're just gonna review really quickly how these are formed, we're gonna start with C major. It's the simplest scale. It just goes right, all the white keys. By this point, that's pretty basic knowledge. So to form a triad, we just got to go find a root note, any note in the scale, and then go skip 1, skip 1. So it's the root note, the 3rd, and the 5th. And there's a triad. And then we can move this to any note. So we just go boom. These are a bunch of triads, and then the naming of them is important. You got to know how to name each note in the triad, and you got to name the triad as a whole. So this would be the root note of C, and it's a major chord, and it's the 1st of the scale. Then now we're on the 2nd, and this one is a minor chord, and it has the root note of D. This is going to be E, and it is a minor chord, and you guys get the point. We learned all about this last episode, and I think we're in a pretty good spot knowing how to do this. All right, that's our little review out of the way. So now we need to learn how to actually make chord progressions.
So these scale degrees, the numbers that we've been using, are really handy because they help us understand how notes and chords function within a key, and they're also used as a shorthand for discussing chord progressions. They help us understand how chords relate to each other relatively rather than absolutely.
So chord progressions are essentially super simple. If we know how to number all the chords within the scale, then we can form any chord progression we want. It could be like 4, 3, 2, 1, and it would just mean that you had to go on the 4th, the 3rd, the 2nd, and the 1st. And that would be your chord progression. It's basically just understanding that in any scale, the 1 and the 2 are gonna have a similar relationship, even though they are like different. They're using different notes and they're using different root notes. So you can transfer them between the scales and have a similar emotional tone to your chord progression. Something like that. So I am going to try to find some sort of list or some sort of chord progressions to practice here, just see what they sound like and kind of store them in my brain. All right, so I found this, you know, the AI overview from Google, but it had just a couple chord progressions I'm going to look at. First, we got the 1, 4, 5, and we're just going to do this all in C major because it's super simple. So 1, 4, 5. So that sounds interesting. Okay, nice. The 1, 5, 6, 4. And one thing to note is that when you see them lowercase, it means they are a minor chord. And when you see them uppercase, it means they are a major chord. That's just something to know. So the 1, 5, 6, 4, let's try it. Again. Other notable progressions: 1, 6, 2, 5. 1, 6, 2, 5. Let's try it again. Okay, 2, 5, 1. Okay, so that's something I can definitely do more research on, definitely do more experimenting, practice, whatever. Something that has a lot of depth and is interesting, but I understand the basics of it. I understand how this is working. So chord progressions, I'm gonna say we are good to go. Cross that off. We learned how chord progressions work, how to make them, how to write them, how to interpret them. I think we're good there. All right, so now we're gonna move on to spicing up chords, learning about how to spice up chords. And I think most of the knowledge about this is gonna be found in the Ethan Davis video, a little bit in the Andrew Huang video, but it's not a whole lot. It is mostly in the Andrew Huang video just about inversions, but in the Ethan Davis video, I think he has a couple extra little things.
With our triads, we've covered the really important chord fundamentals, but I also want to talk about inversions. So that's when you change the position of one or more notes in the chord so that the root is no longer the lowest.
All right, so the first thing we're going to be doing with our chord progressions is adding some inversions. It's not super complicated of a topic, and I already kind of know about this. I learned about it earlier on in my beat making journey. I think I probably learned it in the first 7 days in that series. But it's basically just shifting around the notes in your chord progression. It changes the tone so that they fit better together. I'm doing this in FL Studio because my piano playing skills are lacking. So we've got the first here, and then if we go, what chord progression do we want to do? Let's do the 1 5 6 4. 1 5 6 4. Okay. So 1. Let me make this really quick. Okay, so I think I got those 1 5 6 4 here. Let me make sure. We can see that the notes are there's a large range from C all the way to E. So I'll shift this down an octave, and I'll shift this E down an octave. So these are inversions. I'm inverting the chord. It's still the same chord, but shifting some of the notes up and down an octave to have all the notes be closer together. Like as a whole, now the range is only from one C to the next C. So it's all fitting within one octave now. Before it was going from this C all the way to the E of the next octave. So now let's hear it. We can probably even get it closer like this. If we shift these down, what does it sound like? Yeah, like that. Okay, that's inversions. They're really simple, and they're a useful tool to change up your chords and kind of make them fit together a little bit better. So now back to the Ethan Davis video.
Now that we know the basics, it's time to spice things up. How do we take a classic C major chord and make it a little fancier?
Okay, there's a crap ton that he just showed. And did I take notes? Not this time. I don't know. It wasn't like anything to take notes on. I don't feel like it's mostly about all sorts of different options you can do to spice up your chords. And I pretty much remember all of them. One thing he said was you can add the 7th to a chord. So you've got the 1st, the 3rd, and the 5th. And now you can just add the 7th in there. Let me just do it on the piano. So there's something called a dominant 7th he was talking about. So you just play this, and instead of this normal 7th note, you go a half step down, just here. Sounded pretty cool. He said it's normally used as a transition, and he gave an example, sounded like this. Something like that, I think. I didn't look at it that well, so if I messed it up, I messed it up. I don't know. I didn't take notes. Okay, so another thing that he said to spice up your chords is with almost any chord, you can add the 2nd of the scale in. So, or of the, no, I think of the chord. You can just add it in. It gives a different feel. It's just something to play with. It's not like always add the 2nd in to spice your chord up. No, it's just something to play with. So that's the example of what those sound like. What else did he say? There was one big thing at the end. Oh, yes. He said that the 1 and the 5 go pretty nicely with almost any chord. Okay, we have a 1, 5, 6, 4 progression down here, but on the top, we're just playing the 1 and the 5 the whole time, and I think it should sound good according to him. So yeah, you can pretty much have the 1 and the 5 in any chord. I think he also, so he showed it playing above, but he also showed it just playing within. So like you just shift these down fully into the mix. Where would they fit? I guess down here. So now I have these chords like all packed together, and wherever they overlap, and wherever they don't, we're adding in the 1 and the 5. So we're making sure the 1 and the 5 is always in our chords. It also sounds pretty good. There's so many other things you could probably do to spice up your chords, but those are just some ideas to play with. All right, nice. That was spicing up chords. That was all that Ethan Davis had to say about it. That was all that Andrew Huang had to say about it. So now that I feel that I understand it, I think we can go ahead and cross that off the learning objectives. Boom. Okay. We're done learning about spicing up chords. Now I'm going to go back to just the Ethan Davis video and look at his section called Breaking the Rules. I feel like it's probably going to be similar to the last one, but with some other sprinkles of knowledge, just similar vibe. All right, let's see what that's all about.
That's just a little food for thought, but now let's get into the last section of music theory, which is breaking the rules.
All right, so he went over a lot of different things. The most standing out, the thing that stood out the most to me, two things that he kept kind of repeating, were that you can create some different flavors of chords in these two different ways. So one is an augmented chord, where you basically just take the 5th and move it up a half step. So this is their original. This is augmented. Yeah, it's kind of another transition type sound. It sounds similar to the, kind of similar to the 7th one, where you kind of have that going down a half step. Okay, another thing that was interesting was changing the 3rd back down, shifting it down or up, basically to change if it's a major or minor. When it's in this scale, this is supposed to be a major chord, but now I'm going to change it to be a minor one. And that's a note that's out of the scale, but it could sound nice in some progressions or whatever. It's breaking the rules, but if you do it tastefully, it sounds nice. And it's something definitely to research, to dive into, to experiment with, kind of when breaking the rules sounds nice and in what ways. It's just the chord progressions. There's so much stuff you can get into this, go really deep dive. And obviously I'm not gonna do that today, but it's some interesting stuff to think about. So with my understanding of how you could break the rules, maybe not my in-depth understanding of everything, I'm gonna say I can go ahead and cross off learn about breaking the rules. And with that, we completed all of today's objectives. I forgot to add my bonus objective that I was going to add, which was to actually put this to use and make a chord progression. So let's just see what we can cook up. Something simple. I'm not gonna go too crazy. We'll do something in C major and just see. Let me turn off this scale thing so I can put them on any note, break the rules maybe a little bit. I don't know. We'll just figure something out, make my own chord progression just to, give it some good practice. Okay, I got something of a chord progression. It just goes from the 1 to the 4 to the 1 to the 4. I don't know. But at least I have an augmented C major, augmented, something like that. I think that's what it's called. Then I have an F that is shifted to being minor instead of major. And I did invert the F chords. And then I have one like just normal over here. I don't know. It's nothing spectacular, but it was my go at making my own chord progression. So yeah, I used some of the things I learned today to make that. It's all right. Nothing worth saving, but very cool. All right, well. All right, we can go ahead and cross that off. But yeah, I hope you guys got something out of this video. I hope it wasn't too long. I feel like the last one I made it a little bit too long for the content that was in it. Hopefully this one I was able to cut down, and hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you guys have any suggestions on how to make these videos better, have them be more valuable to you, whatever, I'm open to suggestions. I'm open to you commenting and critiquing if it's gonna make this channel better and better for y'all. So with that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. We learned a lot about chord progressions, I think, and we are getting close to the end of this music theory, beginner level music theory journey here. So that's exciting. And yeah, with that, we will just see you in the next one. Bye.